Good afternoon. My name is Vikas Pota, and I'm speaking to you from London. I'm taking the opportunity after T4 last weekend to bring on some friends and some really cutting-edge thinkers and practitioners from around the world. Yesterday, we heard from Refat Sabah from Palestine, who talked about how we should think about education, and he also spoke about how various disruptions have come to the region and how the education system has actually dealt with it. Today, we are fortunate to have Fernando Valenzuela with us. He's in Mexico. He's the head of education for the Aspen Institute in Mexico. And we're going to be having a conversation around specifically around education technology. And so please welcome Fernando Valenzuela. Hi, Fernando.
Hello, Vikas. Hello, Vikas. It's so great to be here. And I also want to recognize the effort from all teachers around the world. This has been an amazing journey. We've seen everything. So I want to recognize the effort, talent, and dedication from all teachers around the world.
Wonderful. So what I wanted to do today, when we talk about education technology, and given everything that's happened because of COVID, you see so many people interested in this subject. Tell us something about educational technology products and services in Latin America, and we have a few minutes to talk about that.
Yes, so Latin America is a very, very diverse region. We have countries like Uruguay, for example, with about 1 million learners. We have Chile with about almost 5 million. You have Brazil with almost 53 million learners. We have Mexico with almost 40 and Colombia with 12. So there is a very, very diverse. One of the things that I have seen is the commonality of the work in education in the region. This is a lot of inequality. You have people with access to technology and most people that don't have access to technology. So the role that television, radio had to play in the region, and the amount of different technologies that what was offered to different educational ministries around the region has been amazing. So a lot of curation of different platforms and making sure that teachers who had access or students who had access were able to enter some of these experiences has been amazing. So I think just the collaboration and sharing best practices, it's one of the key elements. I've seen Peru and Mexico working together for television content. I have seen Chile and Uruguay connecting, and the information flow among the regions. I'm very close to many of these countries, and how they started to share information, make decisions, and take advantage of each other, I think has been one of the key elements to note.
I mean, so if I was a parent or if I was a teacher, Fernando, one of the issues that we're dealing with at the moment is a lot of people saying that there's been a deluge of resources and lists and free products and services. Tell me, when you put your hat on with regards to impact, how can you help teachers and other stakeholders figure out what's good and what's not?
Yeah, so I think the first and major challenge is access to connectivity. We have had a number of discussions with the major telco players to promote. I mean, to me, it has been really challenging to see that teachers are able to access freely things like social media, things like WhatsApp, but they are not able to access any educational content. So you have seen teachers that really build paper guides. I work with a teacher in the southern part of Mexico that was, printing himself, 95,000 copies of a guide, and he went on his card to distribute that. So I think, the connectivity issue, I think curating, one of the things is that the major players like the Microsofts, the Googles, are the ones that are able to capture scale. But on top of that, there is a need for curation and understanding what tools would be making an impact.
And so, I mean, you talked about connectivity. I get that. Put that to the side for a second. Let's say we have connectivity. What happens then? Because I live in London, and we have been absolutely flooded with all different kinds of things. Tell me, how do we make sense in that kind of environment as to what's good and what's not?
Yeah, so I think it has to come in the region. We also have this language issue. So when you look at the tools and the content and the availability of edtech in the world, you need to take a subset and say what would work in Spanish and Portuguese, and that reduces enormously the amount of availability. So once you look at that, there is a lot of work being done, for example, in areas like STEM. So a lot of math, science, gaming, and teachers really do not know which are the ones that play well. So sometimes what has happened is that they make the decision of what they either receive first without any learning outcome capability. And I think that would be the key lesson, to say, okay, there is an option and there are proven technologies. There are ones that improve learning better than other ones. But I feel that at this point, that type of conversation has not happened. We were not ready, and we're basically flooded with information. And some teachers said, yeah, this seems fine, seems familiar, let me try this. So what my recommendation would be is, now we need to take information from teachers and make sure that we say, why this worked for you, how do you see that in your students, and from there try to make, I think we need to move from the emergency response to the planning. And that is exactly, as you know, Latin America is coming a little bit behind in terms of when the pandemic hit us. So we are now either at the peak of the pandemic or beginning to open up a little bit. So I think we're right in the middle, where we need to use the voice of teachers to say what worked for you. We have seen hundreds of thousands of teachers that really responded well, and then other hundreds of thousands that really could not deal with what has happened. So I think the peer-to-peer conversation among teachers to actually make sure that they can curate and provide feedback as to which tools work best, I think that would be a critical step.
And so, which governments or which countries in Latin America do you think are doing that well?
Yeah, so you have, for example, the case of Uruguay, which is,
Yeah.
very well known around the world because of they started early. They did kind of the right things between, separating a little bit the politics from the academic agenda. So they have an institution that is long-term view focus, and they are able to do that. So I think that would be one that is highly, kind of one of the leading ones. Chile coming right behind it. I think Chile has been doing a lot of good stuff in terms of, putting digital technology, teacher development, student experience at the front. They are probably not doing it broadly, so they have some grades and so on. Mexico has a very good example in terms of the content for TV. Mexico did partnerships with one of the largest players in technology, so the Googles, the Microsofts. They did webinars and training on their own platforms, and there was a lot of teachers that were involved in that. But I think the usage is now what we need to think. So I would say between Chile and Uruguay would probably be the ones that are more advanced, and then sharing, and also people that need TV. I think Mexico would be the case to look at.
Thank you for sharing that, Fernando. In terms of my understanding of how edtech really thrives is when you create an ecosystem kind of structure, where you have obviously startups, you have financiers, you have education systems, you have teachers, all involved in a discussion. Where in Latin America, I mean, I went to Brazil last year and I saw a lot of stuff that was happening there. Where in Argentina, where in Latin America do you see those ecosystems and bright spots as a continent?
So I'm glad you asked this, because I think Latin America has to be seen like a one region, not a collection of countries. So there is innovation, and funny you say that, because actually tomorrow I have one of the biggest shows of edtech in the region, because you have
Yeah.
innovation. There is, for example, a company in Argentina that did some amazing content, and they have been there for almost 10 or 15 years operating. But since Argentina is so small, now they are growing into the rest of the region. But some people didn't know that this was available from because it was in Argentina. You have some innovation in Chile, you have innovation in Colombia, you have Mexico, you have Brazil. And I think, they are all trying to solve the very same challenges, because and this would apply for India, for Africa, and some of the less developed regions within a country. So I think one of the main elements for me right now is to be able to connect these innovations, these ethics, to the world, make the world known that they are doing interesting stuff, innovative stuff, using technology, adapting to these inequalities and inequities in the region, and are able to provide solutions. And maybe, collaboration between India, Africa, Latin America, some of the less developed countries, they may find a solution that has been developed in the region. So I would not pick one country. I think Latin America is a collection. Everything happens in about 15 cities, and those 15 cities all have buckets of innovation, buckets of investment in education. And I think we're beginning to see some of these players that are even expanding to the world. So we have 4 or 5 cases that are now becoming global from Latin America.
Tell us about them. Give me names and tell me what they do. Educate the people
So
that are watching.
certainly. So you should look first, an innovator, a teacher from Colombia, in a very small city in Colombia, a company called Cloud Labs that is doing amazing, amazing stuff. Then there is a company in Chile for higher education. It's called UPlanner. They developed algorithms, intelligence to optimize the use of spaces, the use of the student experience, the alignment between teachers and rooms, and so on. There is Pablo from Competir in Argentina, who has developed content. There is also from Brazil, there is a company called B Tools. There is Kinedu in Mexico, and Notion in Mexico, that are building amazing, amazing technology for schools. And they are, they probably have, 100 schools. They probably have 5,000 students, 10,000 students. And then with all this pandemic, they went from having 5,000, 10,000 in one city to hundreds of thousands in many different cities, because they have the technology, they have the right pedagogy, they have capital, they have all raised money. There's venture capital that has invested in them. So I think we have, and also tomorrow we're going to announce the top 100 edtechs in the region, with Holon IQ as well. So I think Latin America has not been in the radar as an innovative region, and it's time.
Will you give us an exclusive and tell us who's number one in that list?
There is basically, there is not a contest, so we did not have a number one. So I think all of these that I mentioned, so UPlanner, Cloud Labs, Notion, there's one Ubit, all of them are part of the
Okay.
top 100. So it's not really a
But
competition, it's just basically a map, and it's basically racing.
Fernando, if I give you $100, who would you give it to?
I would give it I would give it to UPlanner, most likely.
Okay, so they're number one. Got it. Fernando, in terms of
In my mind. In my mind.
in terms of this, why do you do what you do?
Well, first, I think it's passion. I think, I came from the technology world. I have lived in 5 different countries in the region, and about 12 years ago, when I was looking at my next career move, coming from the technology world, I knew that education was going to be the next s- transition and disruption space. So after working in education, after seeing, the challenges in the region, the teachers, the institutions, and how common it is, and the impact that it would have if we were able to get access to education, I am not going out of this space. I think one of the pains to me is that we still look at education kind of on a very nation type of approach. I think it's a global, and what you have done, putting all of these teachers together and discussing, you can only see how common are the challenges, how common are the students and the needs. So my belief is Latin America has a lot of opportunity to use education to grow, to transform, and so is the rest of the world. And we need to keep this communication, this collaboration, and this perspective of the global challenges as you are doing. So that's why, this is what moves me in terms of, promoting entrepreneurship, investment, startups, and institutions to innovate in the region.
So, Fernando, today we have lots of people from around the world who are watching, just like we had on the weekend. We have people from like Ghana, I've seen, Bangladesh, I've seen, the Philippines, I've seen, from India, I've seen. If there was one last message that you had to give everyone regarding your event tomorrow, or about EdTech in general from Latin America, what would it be?
So I would say that Latin America is breaking some of these challenges with innovative solutions, that we are used to having limitations from capital, limitations from access to technology, from pedagogy, like some of these buckets in Africa and in India. So I think, when you see that we are able to transform learning in spite of all of these limitations, in spite of the low budgets on teacher development, the low infrastructure, the political waves that throw away everything after 4 or 5 years and start all over again. And I think that only with a global view of education we can really change. So I would say, Latin America, you must look at what is happening in these innovative spaces. You must look at the common challenges, and we must share, communicate, and also find solutions at scale. So I think that would be the message that I would put forward.
So, Fernando, as we had a huge amount of people join us on Saturday. For those that didn't join us, what would you say they missed out on? This is for
No,
T4.
they really missed on. Yes, yes, yes. So I really enjoyed the voices that I heard. So Malala's father, very, very inspirational to see, what his message was. When I heard some of these top teachers around the world, how they see education, how they responded to the crisis, how they are planning to move forward, and the level that education would take if we are able to capture this crisis as an opportunity, take the best from teachers, give them a voice, and actually forget about the top-down approach. It is a bottoms-up approach. Those would be the takeouts that I had from Saturday.
And so, was Malala's dad your favorite speaker of the day?
Well, he was really inspirational just because what he represents and how he dealt with the whole situation. He was definitely kind of a voice that moved me. But I get very, very inspired by teachers. Teachers from Canada, teachers from India, from the Middle East, from Africa. The I forget that, I'm very bad with the names, but the person from Africa that also worked in politics, and how how he sees what politicians should look at in education. That was also very inspiring. So to me, it's very difficult also to say, there was one my favorite. I have a lot of notes, and if you look at my Twitter feed, Twitter is my notebook. So I probably sent 20 or 30 tweets of everything, and I look back at that, and that's how I kind of digest everything that happened there.
What is your Twitter handle so everyone can follow you?
Is FERVAL 100, Fairval 100, FERVAL 100.
So please follow Fernando on Twitter. Likewise, you can connect with myself on any of the platforms. Fernando, I thank you for coming on to this live stream, and I wish you very well. For everyone who's joined us, Fernando is one of the champions for education technology in the world, and I'm really grateful for his support and his partnership for T4. And I've invited him because tomorrow there's a huge event that looks at Latin American EdTech, and there's a list of the top 100 innovative companies in EdTech that's being released tomorrow. So please look out for that, and I'm sure Fernando will also share that on his social media. And so it'll be interesting to see what's happening in that part of the world. Once again, thank you so much, Fernando.
Thank you, Vikas. I admire what you're doing, and hopefully we can remain close. And for the rest of the teachers, my respect always for what you're doing at this time of crisis. Thank you so much.